everybody, come on in and let's talk about our orchids. Some of the news is going to be updates and reminders, and there's one sad bit of news. But thanks for joining me. I'd love to have you. So, let's talk about, oh, we got chiming clocks. We love noise. There we go. Let's talk about all the things we should remember when we're purchasing an orchid at the grocery store, because it could mean the difference of having one that you get to keep for quite a few years or losing it soon after it flowers. So I'm still learning, and I'm still, it's you walk in the grocery store and you see this beautiful flower, and sometimes you should turn around and run the other way, but you look over the deficiencies because the flower is so beautiful. But already inside the pot, disaster can be happening. It could be half dead because the orchid is so amazing. It wants its flowers to last and send out new plants, and underneath is sometimes very sad. And that's why I always say, I come home, as soon as I have an orchid, I go get my bark and I soak it, and the next day I repot it in full bloom. I've had great success of doing this, and here's some of them. If you, even other videos, I've done quite a few. Unless there's a lot of roots that are being cut off, then they don't seem to go in as much shock as one would think. So let's pretend we're headed in, you and me, and we decided to go to Salmon Arm grocery store and get an orchid. And I'm telling you, there's not going to be many there. Today there was 2, and they've been there since I bought Purple Haze, so it's been quite a while. They're not looking too good. There's 2 left, but I keep hoping they'll get more in. So I hope that when we go together, there's at least 6 or 8. So how should we do it? Well, I've finally learned, and I take your buggy, and as soon as you get in there and you see the ones you really like, put them in your buggy. Okay, they're there, nobody can take them. And then once they're in your buggy, pick them up, pull it out of that outside pot, and you can see the plastic pot. Okay, so now usually the roots on the outside are green and quite deceiving, and you think, oh, that looks good, don't have to worry about that. But not so, and I'm going to prove that to you soon. And so what else do we look for? Okay, how are the leaves? Are the leaves firm and healthy? Remember the one I repotted in October, just a second, October 22nd, I repotted 2 orchids Mom and I bought when we were grocery shopping. And there was 3 or 4 split leaves on it, not knowing really what caused it, or if they knew, Anyway, the flower was beautiful, and we bought 2 home that day. One was perfectly healthy, and then I picked that one knowing the leaves were split, right? Okay, so we want healthy, firm leaves, no splits. We want no yellow or brown shapes or different colors and splotches on our leaves. We want nice, healthy, firm, green leaves. Okay, so, and then I always look for aerial roots, because I always figure in those first days after I repot, I know those aerial roots because I put them in my nursing station, and I know those aerial roots are going to nourish that plant for the time it's recuperating when it's been moved from the moss to the bark. So I look for aerial roots, and quite often you'll find they've snipped off the end of the aerial root. I hate that. See if it's got any nice little ones starting, because that's what's going to keep your orchid going. But anyway, so you can then peacefully, without fear of losing one you like, go through the orchid you put in your buggy, put the other ones back, and pick the one you want. So there you are, we got our orchid, we're headed home. So anyway, today is a talk about the repotting that I did of that orchid. There was 2 orchids. It was on the 22nd of October, if you want to check out that video. And I said I wasn't sure there was a black spot on the root, which I showed you. And I sprayed it, and I put cinnamon on it, and I thought it was drying out. And you know, as you get used to your plants, you look at them and they're firm and they're shiny and they're healthy, and then you look at one and you think that one is not doing too good. So I made the decision the other day to take it out of its pot and see why it wasn't doing so good. And everybody should do that. If you have one and you're concerned, or you want to see how your watering's doing, wait till the day before you normally water and repot it. See if it's real dry, or if it's gooey wet, or if maybe you missed some roots that you should have cut off. It's already in the bark. The bark is loose, and I've done that. I repotted Moonglow twice last summer because I didn't like the pot I put it in first. So once they're in bark and they're used to bark, they're going to thrive. So if you look, it's going to educate you. You can't guess what's happening under that bark. But looking at the leaves and your plant, you can tell if that plant's sad. And if it's sad, then I suggest to pull it from the pot and have a good look, and then see what you found. So that's what I did. I took, and I had named it Raspberry Sprinkles. So I took her out of the pot, and I was not happy with what I found. So there was an operation that day, and I filmed it, but it's too shaky. I gotta learn to hold things much stiller. But I'm just going to dump this out on the counter here, just so as I can show you what I did. Okay, it was that black spot there. It was my watering day today, so the bark is nice. So sometimes you have to treat a drastic situation with something. Here is Raspberry Sprinkles. Now, I'll show you what happened. I have to come around. I never know how I should really set this up. So, I pulled her out of the pot before I cut this off. And lo and behold, that black spot, the original black spot, was right there. But what did I find? And I cleaned this up a lot, and I scraped it. But already some of the roots were going, so I cleaned them all off, and all this black, and underneath here was all black. Coming under, I cut off 2 aerial roots, they were all black. So black rot, yes. So that was the original black rot that was hid underneath the moss in the pot. And I'd kept it above, and I was hoping to get rid of it. So now, what have I done? I'm hoping I can still, I left 1 leaf, so it has 1 leaf, and it has some roots that might survive. I'm hoping it'll throw me a keiki or some kind of growth. So what I've done is I've just stuck a wet piece of paper towel in a Ziploc bag. And I did soak it for about 10 minutes in some rooting hormone. And then I just put it not on that wet thing, but near it, so it has lots of humidity. Every day I'm opening this bag up and I'm going to let some air in. Otherwise it's going to be warm and moist. And I'm going to hope, and it might take a month or two, that maybe I'll end up with 2 plants. One a baby and one a big one. Okay, and then I wanted to save these roots. And I cut off as much of the black, and I don't think there is any more. It was a little dark right here. I did not want to cut any more off, so I'm hoping there's enough here for the plant. But as you can see, when I got home with this plant, 1 split leaf, 2 split leaves, 3. So have I learned anything? Yeah, it's just because it's good looking doesn't mean you should take it home. Anyway, I'm talking about plants here. Okay. So then I just, and here's my bark, and I just repotted it, and I'll finish that in a minute. So let's keep checking on that and see how it does. We're going to try and save something, and it's sad. And this is what the big lecture on buying your orchids at the grocery store. I bought, maybe I should get it. I love wandering around here. Okay. Okay. This is Phal Memoria Val Rettig. Now, we don't have a chance to go to a nursery and buy orchids around here, but I ordered this one in the mail. And it was in bark. It was in little pieces because this was so tiny when I got it. I did do a video and show it. And it's growing. It's got all kinds of new roots in it. And it's happy. So, whoops, I did water today, you can tell. So, I'll put that there. So yeah, some reputable places will send them out in bark, but there's a reason they use moss in it, so that it will stay through transportation, sitting in stores, and a lot of time too in the stores they just send somebody out to water and they don't have a clue whether it's an orchid or what it is. They just water it all up. So, okay, now we're going to have a talk about something fun. And I do have to show you a close-up. This mini Jacques Monet pot they're so beautiful. You know, I really love minis. Look at this one's coming now. It's so pretty. And look at the aerial roots. It's healthy. And they're coming through. And now I want to discuss how I potted this and why I think they are so happy. So I was thinking, you know, what about this? Are they loving so much? But think about it. It was designed for flow. It's a sewer pot. And the air can go down one. There's lots of holes Jack drilled on both sides. There's 3 openings to one pot. I think that must be why. But you won't believe it. You know, in case you think I have to drag Jack and get him to do these things. Look what he found. We're at the thrift store and he says, look at, and he asks the guy, and the guy says 25 cents. So we got another one, but it's different. You see? There we go. It's different. And it's very nice. So I don't think he wants to paint it, although he said he would, so I'll probably give it a paint job. But I should explain, in case you want to buy one, online I found the other one. And most sewer places, and this was some hardware store I didn't keep, where, Rona, this was Rona, and it's called ABS 45 double Y. Price $4.49. That's a cheap orchid pot. So I had to do that and check that out for you. But I should say that on the bottom, this is a little, Bill, he works at thrift store outside. He suggested, why don't you take we have to have some weight that holds it up good. So this is actually the outside part of an old Christmas tree holder. And he was going around seeing what was about the right size. And then he filled it in with it's a hard kind of plasticky filler. And then that'll get painted. You won't know, but that'll support it because of the weight. And then he puts a screen inside. And, oh, I think this is nice. I think maybe 2 babies and another big one and a painting job. So it's not all sad news. We had some fun, and you know, your orchids are like people. We all have this instinct to survive, and if you help it along. So this side now, I'm putting over the humidity from my pot that needs filled with water. Okay, and so it'll have the humidity all the time, and that's where it'll stay, because that's what it needs, and it doesn't really need direct sunlight. So it'll be there, it'll get all the humidity coming up, and this one will be in the bag, and we'll keep our eye. Every time I talk to you, I'll give you a quick update. So that's about what's happening here. And we know now, be very careful. I'll be digging around in the moss when I look for an orchid. So check it out, because when you're shopping this way for them, you have to. So we've been pretty lucky, because all mine but one are grocery store phals. So and some of them I've had now, oh boy, 5 years. I think about 5 or 6 years, the older ones, and every year they flower, and it's so nice now to sit here and watch the spikes come up, and there's lots coming, so they'll be nice and flowery soon. So we'll continue with a few tips in the next video, and maybe we'll meet in the living room for that one for a change. So we'll see you back then, and thanks for joining me.